If you imagine a sort of graph or a chart, I was at that bottom area, and then I eventually had to work my way up. Once you start to become better than the average, people start looking at you and interacting with you as if you were just a regular person. All right, fellas, so if you've taken the time to watch this video and to click through on it, you've already taken that first step of understanding that you're not the best at something and that you have tons of room for improvement, also known as self-awareness. That being said, I want you to understand that while it may seem like you're by yourself and you don't understand ultimately why you are the way that you are, there are a ton of other people out there experiencing social anxiety and have grown up in a situation where they haven't been given the best hand in order to go ahead and maximize their skill that they need to build. The good news is, like any skill out there, you can always improve upon it. And regardless of whatever starting point that you're at, the only way to improve is to practice that skill and to go upward. And in this video, we're going to be talking about how to do that. I grew up in a single parent household, like probably many of you out there that are experiencing some issues with social anxiety. And it was really difficult. I lived with my mother in Canada for several years as a young kid, and then I lived with my father in Canada, and then I eventually moved to the United States, which is where I am now. And coupled with the fact that I didn't have a two-parent household, I also moved a lot. And I'm talking like almost every single year, I was either moving states or I was moving schools or something, right up until the end of high school. Making friends and building long-standing connections and relationships was not something that I was given an opportunity to go ahead and do. I had no siblings, I was an only child, and I didn't have the love and attention of a two-parent household. It spelt a recipe for disaster in the whole social marketplace with me. Unfortunately, that is what happened. I was bullied a lot throughout school, particularly at the end of elementary school, all the way up to around the beginning of high school. That was when it was at its worst. And I just did not have the answers. I knew that I needed to get people to like me in some way, but I didn't know how to do that, and I didn't know why I was always that guy that was kind of picked on, if that makes sense. Looking at me now, it might not be so easy to decipher if that was the case because you just don't know me 10 years ago, but I can just tell you from experience that I did start at the very bottom and I've worked my way up over the past decade. And I have some advice that'll hopefully help you and give you a place to ground yourself and push yourself forward. So let's get into that. I need you to understand one thing. If you're watching this video, we need to be very objective about this, right? So if you imagine a sort of graph or a chart of the most social, charismatic, charming individuals all the way here at the top right, and then towards the bottom of the chart is going to be somebody like you at the very bottom of the chart. These are the guys that are always getting picked on. These are the guys that don't really know how to socialize all that well, right? So maybe you are in that bottom bracket, right? You need to work on this skill, the skill of socializing, just like you would work on a skill in a video game. So if you've ever played Minecraft, for example, if you consistently chop wood and you're chopping down trees, right? When you first start, it's not going to be the greatest of skills that you have, but as you start to upgrade your axe and you start to go from wood to stone to, geez, what is it, iron? I haven't played Minecraft in so long, to diamond, and then eventually I think there's like netherite that they've added now, right? It's kind of a Minecraft thing. So you basically upgrade your axe throughout time as you become better and better and you become more skilled at that one thing. It eventually becomes easier, it becomes quicker, and it becomes more like you're just breathing air, right? Socializing becomes the normal for you. Whereas previously you had to really hack away at it and spend a lot of time analyzing the situation that you're in. So you're starting at the bottom. Every time that you go out, you meet new people, you have conversations, you slowly start to build that skill, and eventually you're gonna breach a special area. So the cool part about this is that you don't need to necessarily aim to be right at the top, like top 90%. It's nice to be there, and it's definitely a goal that I personally have for myself, and I think you should strive towards. But ultimately, the main point of contention here, or the main goal, is that you probably have a lot of confidence issues with where you're currently at, right? And you don't need to get to that super high-end bracket in order to fix those. So speaking from experience, going back to my time in school, I was at that bottom bottom area, right? At least at the bottom 20%. And then I eventually had to work my way up. Now, once I got into high school, I had worked on myself throughout the years, and I breached that, I want to say 50 percentile or 50% mark, meaning that I was more sociable and more likable than around 50% of people. And on the same note, there was around 50% of people that were still more adept at the skill than I was. And the cool part about this is that once you start to become better than the average or top 50%, people start looking at you and interacting with you and judging you as if you were just a regular person. What do you mean just a regular person? You probably know what I'm talking about when people, they just look at you different than they look at other people. They don't value you as much, and it's very evident. You can see by their body language, you can see by how the way they're speaking with you and the way that they're positioned, you just know. It's a biological thing that we all have in the back of our brains. It's like that caveman instinct. And we know that when there's people in a group that don't really treat us with a high regard, that we're gonna be lower in that socioeconomic bracket. And the cold hard truth here, it is wired within us, meaning we understand innately, mostly subconsciously, where we are on that socioeconomic ladder. And other people, including myself and including you, we're always judging everybody around us, trying to pinpoint exactly where we think that they fit on that ladder, and then we judge them and we treat them by different standards. So, for example, let's say a 6'2" guy walks into the bar and he's very charming, he's smiling, he's well groomed, he has a nice suit on. Are you going to treat that guy, at least to some extent subconsciously, and be honest, don't lie to me, don't tell me that you're just gonna treat everybody equal. That's not how the world works, right? Subconsciously, we always have biases. So you're gonna tell me you're gonna treat that guy better or worse than some 18-year-old kid that comes in the bar with a baggy hoodie and sweatpants and flip-flops on, you know, looking like he hasn't showered in 7 days and he's like smoking a joint. Like, you're just not gonna give him the same level of respect compared to that guy that walked in previously. And that's us at an extreme level, a very polar level, judging where other human beings are on the socioeconomic ladder. And so your job, objectively, if you take a look at your current life situation and you're not being treated well by others, is to take a look objectively and say, okay, here's where I think I am on that ladder based on the interactions that I've had with other people, and also based on just like fundamental metrics. Like, do I make money? Am I in good physical shape? Do I have social skills, etc.? Those things are going to help propel you up, even if you don't specifically work on your social skills. It's not going to be the be all end all. Once you start being in a position where you make money and you're able to afford nice things and you have a nice watch, it just changes the game. It's these mini advantages. Others are going to look at you with more respect, and they're going to innately judge you higher on the socioeconomic ladder, even if your social skills aren't that great. So that's the cold hard truth. You need to look at where you are objectively. Do I have these things in place? And if you don't, build a path forward so that you can begin working on those attributes for yourself, ultimately, in your happiness. Going back to what I was saying though, once you breach that 50 percentile, right? For me, everything changed because I then had the confidence to understand that most people were starting to treat me like a normal human being. And from there, once you have confidence that, okay, well, maybe I don't suck at this anymore, you start to exponentially become better. You start to become more motivated. Maybe you'll be able to crack a joke that you normally wouldn't have, or maybe you'll be able to take a risk with the outfit that you wear, whereas before you might run the risk of somebody making fun of you in your friend group. These little things all compound up against each other, and again, you get the confidence that you're a normal person again, and eventually you start to work your way up even further than that. Reach that 50 percentile, claw, scratch, do whatever you have to do, improve those social skills, improve your stance on the economic ladder, and it'll be quite easy from there. You have to remember that humans are biologically hardwired to find differences from the norm. So keep that in your mind as well. If you are in a conversation in a group of friends or just a group of strangers or a group of people in your class or whatever it is, and you do something that's not what everybody else is doing, they're automatically going to have curiosity and attention pushed towards you, right? And some people will take advantage of that, and some people will look to make fun of you for that. So if you don't have the balls to take that heat, and you don't have the ability to kind of maneuver your way around or maybe throw a shot back, then I would avoid actually doing things that are against the norm, and I would try and blend in a little bit more. Do what everybody else is doing, don't do anything too extreme, and that'll help you become more grounded and more confident alignment with a baseline playing field to which that you can build off of. Now, some actual advice that you can implement right away after watching this video. What I want you to do in your mind when you're in your next social interaction is just keep this like constantly there, right? Don't care about how others perceive you. Like, just engage with others as you normally would and try not to care about how they're reacting, but put all of that focus and all of that energy that you normally would have put into your emotions into the analytical and logical side. What I did is I eventually got to the point where I was like, I'm not in a good situation socially. Let me figure out how to get out of this. And what I did is I just took a look at the situations that I was in and I was hyper analytical. I would take a look at the body language. I would take a look at the way, the tone of voice that somebody was communicating with me with. I would take a look at even little things like, are they prioritizing having a conversation with me versus somebody else? Oh, they prioritized having a conversation with somebody else. What makes them worth more than me? Like, why is their time more valuable? And then I would like follow the attributes that I would think would make a difference. So maybe this other person over here, he runs a business and I'm working like a McDonald's job or something. Extreme example. That would make sense why he is more valued by this person than me. Like, you have to be hyper analytical and objectively take a look at your situation and be like, okay, am I really worth talking to? Am I just making things awkward for other people? Am I adding value to the conversation? Those things all add up, compounding like with everything else that I've mentioned. Lastly, it's one word: cheerful. This is a tip that Hamza actually put in one of his videos, and I think it worked so well. Like, for me, I've been using it over the past year and a half, and I can tell you that it's just completely given me a new perspective when having conversations with people. So it works like this, very simply. You should always be acting cheerful. If you're in a situation where you have anxiety, or you're, say, and again, like a friend group, or you're having a conversation about something and you just don't know what to say, or you don't know how to react, just think, pause, cheerful, and then react and speak and conduct yourself with that word at the forefront of everything. Everything you do has a cheerful attitude. Everything you do has that positivity around it, and it feeds off of the people around you. Meaning, if you're the one that is in a good mood and you're the one that is prioritizing being cheerful in the conversation, that is going to feed off to others, and they will automatically perceive you as more cheerful and more positive and a better person to be around, and they will like you more, if that makes sense. Just be cheerful and always keep that in the back of your mind when you're in maybe risky situations socially, or you just don't know what to do, you don't know how to proceed, don't know what to say. Prioritize being cheerful, and that will go a long way. If you liked the video, please drop a like rating below this video. It helps with YouTube algorithm, and leave a comment if you have some discussions that you want to add below. I'm happy to have some conversations with you guys. And again, this is just anecdotal evidence too. This has just worked for me. What might work for you might be completely different. And if that's the case, drop some comments below and we'll have a discussion. So with that being said, until next time, take care.